For many years, immigration has played a big role in the United States government. Immigration has impacted social justice in both a negative and positive way. And immigration has also sparked the need to increase cultural competencies to limit diversity issues. Here we will look deeper into the role immigration plays in education. According to dictionary.com and the Merriam-Webster Dictionary online, you can look and see the definition of immigration, diversity, and social justice on the slide. According to Crawford and Vail, since the Great Recession of 2008, undocumented immigrant population in the U.S. has stabilized at approximately 11.2 million. The majority of unauthorized immigrants are of Mexican origin. Children of unauthorized adults struggle to receive a high quality and consistent education. Plowler versus the DOE is a case that grants access to K through 12 schools for undocumented youth. However, it isn't enough to deal with the real issues these students face. Because of fear, this issue stays in the shadows along with the information needed to break achievement gaps. Students do not reach out for help, which impacts their decision to not attend college. Parents' lack of knowledge also affects that decision. Parents are generally afraid of being found out and put that same impression on their children, which is why they keep their secret about their status. However, these youth are really looking for support to help them desire to further their education. As you can see below, the dropout rates and the graduation rates of undocumented students versus documented students. There's a big difference, and unfortunately, although this court case may have helped for youth to feel comfortable, there's still a huge gap. Barriers. Various barriers occur because of immigration. Some include inexperienced teachers, limited academic resources, fear of deportation, which limits students seeking assistance, lack of eligibility for an in-state tuition, and poor counselor to student ratio. Undocumented students are publicly ridiculed in classes, in schools, on the street, in businesses, just about everywhere. This humiliation causes so many undocumented students and their families to try and be invisible so that no one noticed them, so that they don't get teased and they don't get ridiculed. And many of them often feel unwanted, which also affects their performance in school, their self-esteem, and their desire for further education. Discovery is a period in the youth life where they begin to realize their life is a bit more complicated because of their immigrant status. Learning to be illegal is the stage when immigrants begin to grasp an understanding of what makes them different and the steps they need to be safe while trying to advance. Coping. Coping is the stage when immigrants are aware of both their negative and positive options and try to live life with that knowledge. So some may try to find work off the books because they know they need to help support their families. However, they know they have to be careful where and how they ask. So that is their way of coping with it because they know this is their situation. However, they also know that they have to keep surviving and pushing forward. So they accept it. Some try to blend in so much into the culture of where they live. For example, here the American culture, that they fight and hide their true self to their friends and to others. Parents don't always inform children about their migration status and the seriousness of it because of shame or lack of information. Both parents and children are afraid of being treated differently or worse, being reported to authorities, which leads to deportation or being detained. Sadly, more men are targeted, which leaves the women and children to figure out survival. Unrelenting discrimination, hopelessness over one's future can contribute to both mental health and psychological problems, as stated before. Interestingly, in Texas, which has the second highest portion of unauthorized immigrants in the nation, you find many undocumented students commuting daily across the border to get to school. However, the process generally causes students to arrive late, causing conflict with testing for the schools they're attending. Also, many students who have to be interpreters for their parents generally miss school or are late to school because they need to accompany their parents to various appointments and to various locations where they have to interpret for them. So, although education is important, family at that point is way more important and is worth the sacrifice. This also shows that a lot of the students, when their fathers especially are deported, are left to try and play that role of the father figure, or of just being that strong support along with the mothers who may not be used to being the head of the household. As we reviewed in a few chapters back, students of immigrant backgrounds, whether documented or not, deal with various microaggressions because of lack of multicultural competence. The Deferred Action Childhood Act went into motion in June 2012 by the President. This gives undocumented students between ages 5 to 30 an opportunity to further their education and work temporarily. DACA is a starting point to break the silence of immigration and its effect on students and education. What this does, it helps dispel the fears of deportation. Families or students had difficulty securing basic needs while also living in fear of deportation. In many situations, these families often get taken advantage of by their landlords or other family members or friends who know their situation and will try to pretty much blackmail them in order for them to keep their secret. A lot of times, this takes away from the way they eat, from the way they're able to support each other financially, and also affects their housing because some at times have to go to shelters because they have nowhere to stay. This plays a role this affects counselors because now you have students that you have to pay a little bit more attention to make sure not only that their immigration needs are met and their educational needs are met, but also to make sure that they're fed, that they have the necessities to be presentable to school, and that they're able to stay focused enough to try and get the education that they so desire. For many undocumented children,